Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Generation Nation podcast. Today with me, I've got Greg Steen running for City Council District 5. How you doing, Greg?
Great. How you doing today? Glad to be here.
Good. It's taken, 2.5 months now to actually get you on here?
Yeah, schedule's a little bit kind of crazy going on right now, but I'm loving every minute of it.
That's good. I mean, I've seen your face all over town over the past 2 months.
I'm sorry. Apologize for that.
I know. You're just littering the environment
Exactly.
right now. So we're gonna talk about you, so people can maybe understand you a bit better. Because as much as I've interacted with you, I don't really know you that well. I don't know what your policies are. I don't know what you're planning on doing. What's your journey been like going for city council? So we're gonna try and explore that a little bit, so that there's a better picture of Greg Steen, the politician, person, and community member. Right?
Correct. No politician.
I don't believe you.
Businessman going into a political seat.
That's fine. Let's go off of those.
All right.
Can't trust politicians
No,
anymore.
you can't touch politicians.
You got to stay away from that label.
Exactly.
So let's start with who you are. So you're a local business owner, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what business have you been running for? What?
2007, I opened my own company.
2007. What company was that?
Family's Choice Electrical. So right as I was opening the company and everything was booming and hopping, that's when we had the crash.
Ooh.
So it was very interesting to go from, I had a very high-paying job, and decided to go off on my own. Thought it was a great idea to open. I'm glad I still did, but I learned so many lessons the first year: how to work on shoestring budgets, and how to just get it done. And because when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of capital.
Oh, I know that for sure.
Brand new companies don't have credit lines of $1 million plus. I mean, whatever you made that day, that's got to go between feeding your family, paying the electric bills, putting gas in the work truck, paying your supplies. I mean, so you just have to make it happen.
I know exactly what I don't think I've made any money in this business that I haven't immediately thrown back into it.
Exactly. People are like, oh, you're a business owner, so that means you're rich.
Mm-hmm.
No, it means it goes in the one hand
Yep.
and out the other.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I talk to people and I'm like, yeah, man, I made so much money this month. And they're like, oh, so you can come out with us tonight? And I was like, no, I don't have any of it.
Exactly.
So you started up a business in 2007, and how'd you manage to make it through the economic recession then?
I tell you what, I hate talking about myself, but I'm very driven. I like to get things done, and when people tell me I can't do something, it's just that extra little bit of motivation. So when the economy's crashing, everyone's saying, "Oh, you might as well go to business," trying to find to do something, scrounge around, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to hit this and hit it as hard as I can. And I did fall a couple times, and it's part of learning. But every time you fall, you got to get back up. And so every time I fell, I'd get right back up and say, okay, well, I guess that's not the way to do it, and moved forward from there. And now that the business is going great, I mean, I had no idea the business would be where it is now. I want to say the CP has helped me a lot with growing the business and getting the connections I needed. BNI has helped me grow and get the connections I needed. But it's about people. You can't just run a business and think you're going to be out there all by yourself and get it all done. You need people to be with you. You need smart counsel, and it's all about people. That's why I named my company Family's Choice.
Okay.
The company that I was working for before, we were open 7 days a week,
Ooh.
12 hours a day. So as the office manager, I was working from 6:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night, Monday through Friday. Saturday was 6:30 in the morning till 1:30 in the afternoon, and then I was on the phone with the guys the rest of the day. And then Sunday I was on the phone with the guys.
That's a lot of work.
So the owner of the company said, yeah, he says, look what I pay you. He says, you're not going to make probably anywhere in the United States what I pay you. But at the end of the day, I had no time for my family, had no time for myself. You lived for the job. And I said, you know what? When I open a company, my guys are not going to work weekends. They're not going to work holidays. And if their kids have a basketball game or a softball game or something like that, they're going to take the day off and get paid and go do it.
Yeah, so you treat your employees right, and then they appreciate you and work hard for you, right?
Most definitely. I've had bosses in the past that would scream and yell at you, and I've had bosses that come out there and grab a shovel and dig with you. And one of my mentors in life, he actually bought one of the electrical company I was working for. I don't know if you know him or not, but Bartow McDonald. He bought an electrical company, and he would actually come out there in his nice clothes and everything like that, and actually get a shovel out. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, you're digging. He says, I'm going to dig with you. I'm like, you own the company.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but he says, I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself.
That's the way you do it.
And that was probably one of the first bosses that I had. I said, you know what? I said, whenever I own my own company, I said, I want to be like him.
You know, we were talking before the show about Mike Holt and how I used to work for him.
Right.
He's that same way, you know, always super nice to the employees, always there for you. I remember the first year I worked there, Easter came by, and he came into the office, and he had, like, bunny ears on, and he had a basket of Easter eggs, and he gave everybody an Easter egg, and inside of the Easter egg was an Easter bonus. It was a $100 bill inside the egg.
Wow.
And I was when I worked there for him, I was like, man, this is the kind of boss.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So that's super respectable that you want to operate, and you do operate your business in that.
Well, your business is your employees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you treat your employees bad and you're continuously going through employees and you have no retention, you're spinning wheels. You're spending your time. And not only that, I mean, who wants to be that guy at the end of the day that is the jerk?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, who wants to be the bad boss? That
Exactly.
Everyone's like, well, F that guy, right?
Exactly.
And I mean, like one of the reasons I started my business, right, was because I was tired of corporate style, just people who don't care, lack of integrity and everything that they did.
Exactly.
It's like, I'm not going to scam people to push products. I don't care about your bottom line. My goal when I work for someone is to help the customer get what they want.
Exactly.
And get the best result they can. And that, I mean, in my mind, that's how you continuously get business. You get repeat customers.
Right.
So it's good that you do that for your business. It shows character for you, right?
Yeah, I've had customers call me and say, I need a new electrical panel, which is a high ticket item.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, some contractors be like, oh, great, yeah, we'll go give you a quote like that. And I said, well, just so I can, what are you needing an electrical panel for? Are you upgrades like that? I said, oh, well, I have a breaker tripping, so I think that the panel's bad. And I kind of like, well, I said, I'd love to sell you a panel. I said, but I said, all we need to do is troubleshoot this problem, find out why the circuit's tripping. I said, it could be something as a weak breaker. You could have an overload on the circuit. And I said, you're talking about a couple $100 versus spending several thousand. And they're like, really? And I went, like, why didn't you just do the panel? I'm like, I like to sleep at night.
Yeah.
And I believe what goes around comes around. And if you start doing that to people, I mean, the first time you sell out and do stuff like that, that's who you are.
Yeah, it feels wrong.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, it is wrong.
It really is.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you started the business. It started growing. You started doing well. You treated people properly. How did you get? So you've clearly grown from the recession into a well-off business, correct?
Correct.
How did you go about managing your business in a way that let it sustainably grow throughout time? And I'm guessing you've integrated yourself fairly heavily into the community.
Yes.
Through your business interactions.
Through the business interaction so much, a lot of my work is actually down in the villages.
Mm-hmm.
So we make most of our money out there because it's just a very tight, dense population. All the houses are built the same way, so the trucks can be stocked away. But through the business world, it allowed me to be partners with the CEP, BNI, and that's when the networking started happening. And as soon as you start networking, the business blew up, and I was on a truck at that point, going out every day and working myself, which I love doing it. I love it because we'd see so many different people. When I started, most of my customers were World War II veterans.
Oh, really?
Several that had been shot down were POWs over in Germany. They landed on enemy territory, went out with duct tape, fixed the wings. So these are the stories that you get to hear. We had one a couple months ago. It was the first Frogman, which the Frogman turned into the Navy SEALs. Mm-hmm. He was the first team. And he actually jumped out of a plane. His parachute did not deploy, and he hit the ground over 100 miles an hour. It lived to tell about it, and he still plays golf this day.
My God, they're insane.
So I mean, I say customers, but it's family. Right. When we go to someone's house and do something, it's about family. So, but it's like using the company, starting to get to know people, that's when the business blew up, and I decided that I needed to work on my business instead of in my business. And when I transitioned, that was very hard doing because, like I said, I loved what I did. But now that I'm having my guys go out and stuff like that, it was a very smart business move, and I do miss the interaction with all my customers. But now every day I'm spending interacting with other like-minded business owners, and I'm enjoying that part too.
It's a different world interacting with business owners than like your average working employee kind of people.
Most definitely.
It's a weird transition, and I know what you mean because I've experienced it as I started mine. You started interacting with these people, and it's like, you guys have a different mindset than I'm used to.
Most definitely.
There's like a driven aspect to it, very self-motivated and self-assured, and I mean, you get that mindset going, and you do really well out there.
Yeah, that is one thing about being a business owner. You have to set your alarm clock, and no one's going to hold you accountable if you come into work or not. It's just like, okay, got to be disciplined. So, being a business owner, the first thing is learning how to be disciplined. Discipline yourself because no one's going to do it for you. And so that was a lesson learned. Just even when it was slow when I first started, get up at the same time every day, go out, and if you're not working, drive the truck around because the truck was wrapped. And I said, find business to do.
So, at what point then did you transition from Greg Steen, the business owner, to Greg Steen, I'm going to run for an office?
That was probably 2.5 years ago. Just watching the climate of political change in the world. And I'm just looking, I'm like, oh man, I said, I can't do anything about it. And I was sitting down with one of my friends that's a senator, and he's like, well, he says, are you ready to serve? And I said, I think so. And he's like, have you thought about running for council? And I said, kind of thought about it. I said, not sure of the steps to take. I said, but I would like to give back to the community. I said, I was born and raised here, and my company's to a point now where I can actually leave the company, and it's like on cruise control.
Self-sustaining.
It is definitely. And so I started looking into it and researching it, and decided that that's what I needed to do. I mean, it's a burning passion. As you probably have seen, it's just I'm all in. I really feel that I want to be a part of the community and help out and preserve this town because, like I say, this is where I was born and raised. My grandparents are buried here. I don't know of another town, so I'm not going anywhere. And that's when I decided to go ahead and jump in with both feet and do everything I could.
You know, it's funny you say that it was about 2 years ago that you had the you could almost call it the political awakening, or you could even call it like a patriotic awakening, the desire to like serve the people around you. And that way, I had a very similar experience about 2 years ago. I was like, I'm tired of watching what's going on, right? I want to do something to help people because
Right.
I mean, in my head at the time, right, I was like, my life may not have value, but it could potentially have value if I helped other people, make them feel better or live better, you know, have that kind of interaction. And I had the same thought, right? Go in, try and get into local politics. And when I did that, I got, probably because I just didn't have the experience because I was 21 at the time, but I was told that I was not old enough or experienced enough to even try and interact in politics.
Wow.
That I had to either finish college or start a business in order to have like years of experience, I guess, out there in the world, right? Before you could even enter that ring. So when I met you, it was kind of interesting because I saw that potential, right? The going out and deciding to try and do that.
Exactly.
And that was the reason I wanted to have you on originally was I wanted to learn how you started the process. Like how did you even throw your hat in the ring? Like how do you go about doing that?
I tell you what, so as a business owner, you don't learn how to just pop into politics. So it was a lot of online research. And it was a lot of calling Wesley's office and said, hey, what should I do? How can I do this? And they were so helpful then. And actually during my campaign, I call them quite often just for checks. You know, from what I'm reading, this looks good, but you let me call an expert in the field. Hey, am I allowed to do this? Yes, no, this is what you do. So started out doing a lot of research, reading the handbooks, went down to City Hall, filed there with Angel, which again she was very very helpful, and it's about networking. It's not knowing everything; it's knowing the people that know. So you need to surround yourself with wise counsel,
Yeah.
and then also when you surround yourself with wise counsel, double check it,
Well, I mean,
verify.
what is it? The smartest leaders are always the one who surround themselves with smarter people,
Exactly.
because you'll never be able to do everything or know everything, and if you don't take the advice of others or even just not take their input, how are you going to be able to make the best decision possible for the situation you're in, right?
Right. If you're always the smartest man in the room, or if you think that you're the smartest man in the room, you're done learning.
Yeah, you've already accepted that you're not going to do the best that you can. If you think you're already there, you've got nothing to strive for, right?
Exactly.
So you started doing all the paperwork. You started using your connections. What was the process of getting into, like, so you're District 5, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm not even sure how the whole thing works, right? So did you pick District 5, or is it like a living standard of like
This District 5 is a mapped out area in the city where that council member would have to live.
Okay.
So District 1 is called an at-large. So as long as you're living anywhere in the city, you can run for a District 1. And then you have 2, 3, 4, and 5, and those are actually mapped out to where you have to live in that section. So everyone's not all in the same neighborhood. It's kind of spread out a little bit.
Okay. And so you've chosen, or I guess not chosen, but you started running, right? And from what I can tell, you have at least one opponent, correct?
Correct.
And that's is Hilty, correct?
That is correct.
So you're running against Hilty. What's your thoughts on him? I know you guys seem to be
Well,
friendly towards each other at the.
as far as that, I just always it's like a horse race. You put the blinders on, you look forward as you go as hard as fast as you can. Jim is a great guy, nice guy. Have nothing negative to say about him. We both have agreed to run a clean campaign. I think people are tired of dirty politics.
I definitely agree.
I hate dirty politics. So
well, that's what made it interesting when I realized you two were competing against each other, and you were just speaking so openly and what is it, formally towards each other. I was like,
well, the thing about it is we're not against each other. He's not my opponent. He's not opponent of mine. We just happen to be going for the same seat. So there's no animosity, there's no strife, there's no anger. It's just we're both looking for the. It's like going to a job interview, and there's other people in the waiting room to go to get that job too. So there's no reason to do dirty politics. I was always told growing up, whoever throws mud gets dirty.
You got to pick it up in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So let's talk about your candidacy then. So we talked a little bit beforehand. You said you're not running as either Republican or Democrat. You're going independent, correct?
Well, the city of Ocala is nonpartisan. So the way the city chapter is you're not allowed to run on party level.
Oh, really?
So anyone in the city that runs, including the mayor's race or any other candidates, has to be nonpartisan. You cannot be on any of your campaign material. You cannot say, you're Ocala is Republican, or your Ocala is Democrat, or your Ocala is Libertarian, or it's all nonpartisan.
I thought the mayor was a Republican though.
He may be personally,
but you can't run as.
You do not run as a party.
Interesting. I had no clue. I didn't realize it worked that way.
Right.
Man, why couldn't we do that nationwide, right?
I would love that. I mean, I might get some kickback on that, but my personal belief is look at the person. Look at the bills instead of the letter that's in front of it.
Yep, people over parties.
Because you know how it works. People are going to say, okay, I'm running in this district. Let me find out how many Republicans are. Let me find out how Democrats are, and then whatever the best chances are, that's what I'm going to register as.
What? Just to be on the winning team?
Just because people know that there's an R or D that I say we're going to pick. I highly recommend to everyone study the person. Don't look at the party at all. Study the person. Study their voting records. Dig into them. If they have forms just like that, go meet them. Talk to them. That letter means nothing.
Oh yeah, it's definitely about. I mean, that's why the uniparty term exists, where it's like, oh well, we got all these bad people in, and they've got letters next to their names, but they're you know, all around. It legitimately is the person you got to get to know. It's one of the reasons why I personally have never voted, is because every time I look at them, it's like I have to dig through every single one of them. I'm not just gonna go, oop, all right, let's sign it all away. If I like a person, then I'll vote for them. And I've never been in a situation where it's like I've liked someone so much that I want to go out and vote.
I'm going to encourage you to go vote.
I know you are.
Everyone needs to register and go vote. You need to have that say.
Mm-hmm.
So I would. That's going to be my tip of the day, is to go register to vote. No matter who you vote for. I mean, that's your prerogative, but just be a part of the system and vote.
Oh no, I don't disagree either.
Right.
I think you should vote. It's your right as a citizen of the U.S. to go out and vote.
Right.
And I would encourage people to. I just personally would only vote for someone who I know and like.
Sure.
And trying to be like a business person who's very active, or at least trying to be active, it's hard for me to like want to. Because I mean, if I do something like this, I don't want to be supporting anybody
Sure.
like actively, because it breeds like
Oh, of course it does.
bad intent in the community from what I've seen in
It
my
does.
short time interacting with other people in the community. But I'm totally totally fine with having like a nonpartisan
Right.
conversation with somebody who's running, and try to be just like the layman for them, like what we're doing right now.
Right.
So, all right, so there's no party affiliation at all.
That is correct.
That's insane. I did not know that.
And it's really it's interesting, because I thought people would just understand that on my Facebook page. I probably get asked 3 or 4 times a day what party I'm in, and then when I try to explain about the nonpartisan, I've had people cuss me out and tell me that all kinds of different things. And it's just Ocala. That's the way it's actually like that in a lot of cities.
Is it?
It's when you get more of to county and federal, that's when you start putting the letters in front of people's names. But it's the way it is, and I enjoy that. I like that.
No, that makes me like it a lot more, especially when like with District 4 that's got like the 6 different people. I mean, who you voting for this?
Right.
It's not a 2-party race. You got 6 of the guys and gals going at it.
That's an interesting. I would say if I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say that is definitely going on a runoff.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a special election too, isn't it?
Yes, because Matt's stepping down. Right.
So, all right. So we've gone through a little bit of your business, kind of who you are as a person, how you even got into this. What are your plans if you do end up getting elected? Like, what are you trying to do once you're in office?
See, when I get in office, I would like to treat it as a business. I think it needs to be made wise decisions, and not make decisions on special interest groups or certain political parties. I think everything needs to be done for the citizens. For instance, I think the backbone of our county or city is our first responders, our police force and our fire force, utility workers, 911 operators. If we don't have those, you're talking about instant chaos. Being an electrical contractor, I'm out with the linemen and utility workers often, and talk to us. Hey, you know what? How do you like working for the city? And at first, I could get away with it because they didn't know who I was. They didn't recognize my face. And they'd be like, oh, man, let me tell you about it. And they would just go down the whole long list. And then as my face gets a little bit more noticeable around Ocala, some people are like, oh, we like working here.
It's hard to not be noticeable when your face is posted everywhere.
Right. So I would like to still take and be boots on the ground. I would like to be able to talk to everyone and just have an open door and say, well, come talk to me. Tell me what's going on. All the citizens, I've heard this a lot. Well, this is West Side or East Side Ocala. That's obvious. That's political. Because when I grew up, there was no West Side or East Side Ocala. I started hearing about West Side, East Side Ocala when I was in politics. I was raised a little bit differently. When you're in Ocala, you're part of Ocala.
Yeah, I've never heard a distinction between the different
Yeah,
sides.
you're in Marion County, you're part of Marion County. You're in Florida, you're Floridian. So people are like, oh, well, if you live in Ocala and I'm representing you, come and talk to me. I love coffee. I probably like it a little bit too much, as my kidney stones will tell you. But that's what I'm going to. I'm going to be the coffee candidate.
A coffee
The
candidate.
coffee candidate. So if anyone wants to have
Been
coffee,
endorsed by Starbucks and Symmetry Coffee.
I've actually had couples like, do you just want to set us an office here since you're here literally every day? You know, when you walk in and they're like, oh, we'll got your drink ready for you. Just a minute.
I used to have that relationship with a Wendy's in Leesburg. They would watch me walk because I would every day at lunchtime I would go in and I'd order the same sandwich every single day. They got to the point where I would walk in the door and they'd be like, "Plain spicy chicken," and then as I'm paying for it, they'd hand me the bag.
Right. And it's gotten to the point where a lot of times they'll know, because I'll have like three drinks, maybe 4 drinks that I like. And a lot of times, like, just surprise me. I said, you know the stuff I like, and just, I'm not picky. So if it has caffeine in it and a little bit of flavor, I'll drink it. So
So, what exactly does the city council have like authority to do? What is the like power structure that they actually have? Because I don't think many people even know what they're capable of doing.
a lot of it lately has been on infrastructure in new buildings, neighborhoods, apartment complexes. Ocala right now is experiencing massive growth. And so if you go to any council meeting, half of the council meeting is going to be approving different zone changes, apartment complexes, changing R4, R1, R4, et cetera, so forth. That's going to be a large part of it. The airport is actually under Ocala also. So
The one out by
on 60th.
okay.
The one that actually is called the International Airport. It no longer is the International Airport. So I'd like to see that the runway be certified, get the fire department there, getting customs there, and actually getting more going on. Any ordinances would go through the city, budgeting. The police force is handled under the mayor's office, but all the budgeting stuff would go through council. And then we have what's called a strong city manager, and the city manager delegates a lot of the authorities and controls a lot that goes on through the city, and then the manager would answer to the council.
So the city council handles infrastructure for the most part.
Correct.
I had a conversation with EJ Neves a couple months ago on the show, and we talked about Ocala infrastructure in terms of like the roadways. We're expanding rapidly as a city, correct? It's no longer small town Ocala.
No, it's not.
Do you have any plans for or have any idea how the road infrastructure is going to go? Because I've seen lately the traffic's been fairly awful, and the way that I see,
I would say that'd probably be an understatement.
yeah, the way I've been seeing the town laid out, with the kind of expansion we're seeing, I know it's just experience playing video games with city planning, but the way I see the current layout of everything. The roads don't seem like they're going to be able to handle it, and the layout of downtown Ocala.
We're not handling it now.
Yeah, and if we keep expanding, I don't think downtown Ocala is very well laid out for any kind of real expansion. Do you have any ideas of how?
Definitely,
deal with it?
Some of that we'll have to get DOT involved in everything too, because the whole area, county-wide, and everything is growing. So definitely, there's going to be multiple agencies involved in that. But one thing that we can help with traffic is putting strategically placed garages, and then having shuttles that will actually take people back and forth. Maybe more stops with the SunTrans bus. I would like to see, we have the ordinance now where golf carts are allowed in certain areas of the city. I would like to see a commercial company come in under the city and actually run some kind of transportation. So if we have a parking garage 5, 6, 7 blocks away that can house so many cars, but then we have shuttles going back and forth to the city, you're not having everyone driving right to the middle of the town and trying to park in a couple hundred parking spaces that we have.
Oh yeah.
Or the small, the streets are also fairly small. When you get everyone parking on both sides and you bring a big dually in or something like that, you're watching the corners really close. So I think a lot of it could help with public transportation. Helping people with carpooling. There's different ideas instead of just building more roads. We definitely need more roads. We definitely need some more. But we need more public transportation.
Is there any, or do you have any idea or any knowledge of the potential of creating like a second city downtown? Like the way that our roads are laid out for downtown, it doesn't look like you can really expand it properly there. but is there the potential of building a second downtown area?
I don't see so much far as a second downtown, but what I would like to see is possibly a trolley that would go back and forth from like Main Street over to the new garage and like crossing over 40. I'd also like to see a walkover. Actually have a really nice, beautiful one where you can watch the sunset. Actually have it painted "Welcome to Ocala," and then have on the other side maybe connected to either a parking garage or another hotel, some kind of infrastructure there, like kind of like on A1A in Daytona, where you have the flyover right there. I think that would be great to have, so people could actually walk over. If you had like the trams going back and forth, instead of having a second square, we need to expand the square that we have both ways. We definitely can't go west because we're locked up on 441. But I do think
that's what I was thinking. Like,
yeah,
if you put a second square on the other side of there, or
I
something?
think we could go south a little bit, and I also think we could go north. So we definitely have some growth that way. But to cross 40, you have potential pedestrians getting hit.
Yeah.
So that's where I think you need to have the crossover.
Yeah.
And the public transportation helping people get back and forth safely.
What do you got? You got like by the Old Marion Hotel. If you go north, that little area is getting built up a little bit, and further back behind there, you've got like a bunch of crisscrossing train tracks and really weird roads.
Right.
And that's the part of the city that I'm like confused about. Like, that's where you could potentially have expansion, but it's so poorly designed, at least from what I've seen and understand.
I know over in that area there's also another development that's coming in that it's actually going to have apartments up top and shopping centers on the bottom, which I think is a great idea.
Oh yeah, that's right. I think it's in the same square that the Old Marion
Right.
Hotel is in.
Right. So with that right there, you're bringing more revenue to the city. And you're bringing people. I mean, who doesn't want to live? I mean, I guess there is plenty of people that don't, but I would think that'd be great to live right there downtown, all the shops within walking distance. I mean, that'd be great.
You like the box living?
See, that's funny. Is I like that, but I also like to sit on 30, 40, 50 acres and actually have, my own tomato plants and grapevines and fruit trees and like that. But on the same hand, too, I like to be like all right in the middle of everything. So it's kind of a conundrum there. So I might just have to have a vacation weekend house somewhere.
I still got a little bit of that shut-in me, and I like to have 90 feet, or not, yeah, about 90 yards in between me and my neighbors. And I just go up my driveway, and I'm at my place, this is where I live, and I can do as I please, and no one can go, shut up.
Yeah, I also flip homes, and I'm doing a condo right now, which was very, very successful. I love doing those, and it was funny. I'd be in there working, and all of a sudden you hear. No, I don't think I'd want to live in that.
Yeah, right. So you said you're working to better the firemen, the utility workers, etc. How is your relationship with all of them right now?
In my race, I am the only one that has received the endorsement from the fire department. I received the endorsement from the North Labor Council, which is Lockheed Martin, the school board, and the labor union for city employees. Like I say, I'm boots on the ground, so I am talking with the linemen a lot with my electrical company. I've done ride-alongs with OPD at 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning. Which was very eye-opening. I visited several fire stations, and I think they can feel the genuine that I just have the utmost respect. I would love to do it. I just know I'm not cut out to be a police officer. That's not my forte, so I let them handle that. And as far as firefighting, I actually tried to volunteer at one point, but when it came to passing the physical on the back, they're like, your time in construction has showed it's wear and tear on your back. They said, sorry, you're not coming in here.
You can't take that tank with you, can you?
Yeah, exactly. So I figured if I can't support them, on the field, what better way to support them than to be in office and actually take care of, I know a lot of guys don't do it just for the money. It's the hometown feel. They love the brotherhood, the sisterhood of being in there. They love Ocala, and to be able to support them is going to be a great honor.
So what does that support look like exactly? Is it monetary?
Well, of course, monetary is always, because that's what's going to feed your families. But just knowing that have their back. Like we were talking earlier about employment.
Mm-hmm.
You can get paid really, really, really well, but if you're treated poorly, you're going to leave that job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, money only goes so far. It's a tool, but if it's damaging your health and physically and mentally to work there,
Mm-hmm.
then who cares about how much you're making?
Yeah.
So I would definitely know that all the city staff would have my support, and if anything happened, we would definitely look into it. I think there might need to be a little bit more restructuring with, like, say, boots on the ground. I have talked to several utility workers,
Mm-hmm.
and being backed by the union, I was actually sitting in some of the meetings that they've had recently, and from what I'm being told, is that a lot of these guys' exit interviews, they're being asked to sign saying that they're leaving over money issues versus the real reason they were leaving. So from what I'm being told is they were leaving because of the micromanagement of the linemen, and that they're just having enough.
So just what is it? Micromanaging bosses who just can't let the employees who know what they're doing do their job.
Yeah, definitely need to look into it more and find out, hear at both sides and find out what's going on. But if you have a dozen utility workers leave that are seasoned
Mm-hmm.
and have to tell them how to fill out their exit papers, there's a problem that needs to be looked at. Stuff like that doesn't need to be swept under the rug.
So let me ask you: does the city council have any like authority over local schooling systems?
Schooling system would be county.
So that's county.
That's county. That'd be your school board.
Okay. And what level above the city is that?
What is that?
Is that like above the city level or?
It's a county position. So the county would handle all of the school. Your school board would handle all that.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an understanding of how the local government structure works because I'm not too well versed in it.
The county and the city should,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times does, work together, and so that's why you have schools in the city, but it's run by a different division. Just like the fire department, the police department, it still has everything going through council as far as budgeting or that, but they answer directly to the chief,
Mm-hmm.
and the chief answers directly to the mayor. So it's broken up.
Okay. So what is budgeting under Greg Steen city council look like?
I actually would like to look at the entire budget page by page, because I know everyone's saying, well, we don't have enough money to pay our employees properly. Well, if we didn't get in all these lawsuits, I think we would. If we're not paying continuous more attorney fees to fight all these lawsuits, I think it'd be very easy.
What are the lawsuits about? I've heard them mentioned, but I don't really understand what's going on with those.
We have a potential lawsuit right now coming on with the fire chief being fired.
Okay.
So that will unwind, and we'll see what happens with that. We have a lawsuit of over $80 million with a tax assessment fee that was found to be wrongfully labeled. So we're going to find out if it's going to be judged as services rendered,
Mm-hmm.
and then or if we have to pay that back. So I think right now a lot of rubber stamping has happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to have counsel. I think our city attorney does a good job, but I think on things that are going to affect millions and millions and millions of dollars, we should probably get outside someone to look at it from a different view and protect ourselves a little bit better.
Is this just a problem with corruption causing the
I
lawsuits,
mean, I don't know
or incompetence?
Oh, you're going to put me in a hot seat right there on that one.
Well, I feel like this is such a big issue with budgetary stuff. Maybe it's something that should be talked about, right?
I can't speak for what other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I can just speak that when I get in office, I'm going to look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say it's a part-time job. I don't plan on making it a part-time job. If I'm going to be representing the city and watching over the city, I'm going to make it a full-time job, making sure I'm looking at everything. When something comes through, I'm not going to look through and say, oh, yeah, it looks pretty good. And I'm not saying anyone's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not bad-mouthing anyone at all whatsoever. I'm just saying when I get in office, I will make sure to do my due diligence. And if I need to seek counsel
Mm-hmm.
to understand it completely and thoroughly and any of the possibles of devil's advocate, what could happen, I'm going to make sure to look at every road.
So what would happen if it was found to be incompetence or corruption? How do you know how that procedure would go by about taking care of it? And
Well, it all depended if it, for one, if it was found out, who it found out, and what level. I mean, it could be something as someone leaving office. It could be someone asked to resign, or it could be felony charges. I don't know. But like I say, I'm not accusing anyone of doing any wrongful or accusing anyone of any incompetence or anything like that. I'm just saying I would not rubber stamp anything. So, like I say, nothing bad about anyone that's on council or past council. I just think that things need to be looked at a little bit closer.
all right. So, how are you doing in, I guess, polling or in your race? Are you looking like your posters everywhere? You're everywhere. You're doing really well.
Well,
or...
again, we're in the middle of the race right now. So for me to stop and start looking around and finding out where other candidates are, I'm going to lose a step. So again, I'm not against them or they're against me. I'm running for a goal, and I'm just keeping my eyes locked on that. So I'm not looking to the sides and hey, what are they doing? Or I'm just focused on what I'm doing and doing as much as I can. So I'm not going to waste any energy trying to find out what other people are doing because it's not going to affect anything. I'm going to spend all of my time and dedicate it to just going as fast as hard as I can forward. Having a lot of reach out. I have a team now that will actually, man, I am so thankful for the team. As I'm going through my days, my phone just got ding, 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 and then they're on the group chats. We're taking care of this, we're taking care of that, we're taking care of these signs. I have an event coming up this Saturday. They are working so diligently, just getting everything taken care of. That's been a huge blessing because for running 2 years, it's kind of hard to get a team to tell someone, 2 years from now there's a seat coming up and you want to help. And
so you've been preparing for this for 2 years then?
2 years. I filed quite a long time ago.
Really?
So even when I filed, they're like, that seat's not even listed on our website yet. I understand that. And I said, you're going to have to put a filing every single month for the next 2 years. I understand that. And they're like, okay, we'll go ahead and release that on the website now. Well, the thing about it, too, is people are like, oh, well, you got to wait till the last minute so they don't find dirt on you. Look.
Find dirt on you?
I've been here all my life. I have a couple speeding tickets. Go ahead and dig it up.
I mean, so what? If you have something on you, whatever. I mean, it's only dirt if you feel ashamed of it.
Right.
Or if if you're a genuinely good person.
Well, the thing about it is
what are they going to dig?
Let me ask you this. So, the first person that is perfect, go ahead and cast the first stone.
Oh, yeah.
There's no one perfect, but I feel that I've lived a very clean life, and like I say, mother was a big influence in my life, and I love her to death. She taught me how to be respectful to people. And you hear a lot of this now, people being racist stuff. When I was growing up, there was really, you didn't talk about that because you did it. Well, what color is your friend or whatever? What? What do you mean? What color are they? That's John over there. What color are they? That's John.
I had the same thing. I didn't even have the concept of it till I was in high school when people started bringing it up. I mean, I've got pictures of me when I was like 4 in preschool with my buddies, who was a black kid and a Hispanic kid, and it's like who saw people like that. It's not till you get like people who make it like this is something personal to them. Like this, it's like race is like the end all be all. It's like I don't care. These are my buddies, right?
Yeah, I have a funny story about that because, like I say, I'm not going to say I'm naive and don't know that racism doesn't exist. Of course, it exists, but in my personal life, I don't look at color. So when I was getting ready to do these commercials and stuff and endorsements, I just reached out to my friends. I'm like, hey, who wants to do a commercials like that? And anyone interested? And then one of my friends like, oh, wow, that's really cool that you have such diversity, and you chose someone that was from a different country, and you chose. I'm like, what are you talking about? And like, oh, you purposely decided to have this demographic, this demographic, this demographic. I was like, no, actually, I didn't. I just. Hey,
these are my people.
This is my friends. Or is anyone interested? That done business with them like that? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then I actually stopped and took a step back and looked from the outside. I was like, oh, I do pretty much have a pretty diverse group of friends. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's so stupid because it's like you meet people and you connect with them,
Right.
not based off of skin color, but on common interests.
Exactly.
Whatever you're doing, goals, aspirations. That's what human connection is. It's not like,
Exactly.
I see you look slightly like me.
Right.
If we were standing on a color palette together, we'd be pretty close.
Right. Oh my gosh, I've never heard that's I love it.
It's legitimately because of the panels. I saw them. I was like,
Oh
color
wow.
palette.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't understand that thinking. I actually had a thought about it about 2 years ago that I pretty much lived by, and I think it holds pretty. I think it's pretty true. I think people aren't like racist in the way that it's described. I think it's more culturally driven, like as the classical way people used to think about race was.
Right.
It was all cultural until about the 1900s. And so when people describe these people, they're not describing it racially, they're describing it culturally. Like for example, when people say they dislike Mexicans, they're not disliking their race, they're disliking the kind of culture that is built up or thought about when they think of those types of people, right? The real muddling the water is when people think about like black culture, right? I guess you could call it the big B black culture type of thing. Or the what it usually is associated with is like ghetto culture, right? You don't have to be any kind of race to be a part of that culture.
No.
You just act according to like what that cultural context is usually like. But it's associated with a race, a skin color for some reason, instead of what it actually is a more cultural attitude, right?
Right. Well, I believe that's also there's media pushing that too. I mean, don't get me on that soapbox, but you'd have to be half blind not to see that social media and regular media is just pushing some agendas to cause a little bit of division. I mean, you can look at the way the headlines are worded, and in certain instances, they'll use color. Well, why are you using color to define someone that has nothing to do with what was going on?
Like unless you're describing someone for like what is it, a police,
Right.
like is it POB or something like that? At like what are you doing it for? It's like they have either a
Right.
thought process
Right.
or ideas. Why is this being brought up? Like if someone heard about you, they're not like, man, those ideas are really good, but what color are they?
Right.
It's,
Well, that's like when I have employees come in and they're wanting to get a job. I was, oh, are you Hispanic? Are you black? Are you white? Who cares? Hey, are you willing to show up? Are you willing to work? Okay.
yeah. Do you have that like cultural background where you are a hardworking person and you're gonna do the job right?
If you want to show up and you're wanting to learn a good trade, come on.
Oh yeah, no, God, you guys who do electrical work, I've seen your textbooks, man. Those things are like, I'll stay away from that. I'm super dyslexic. I see numbers and they go, "Ooh, what are you doing?"
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you guys can detect the electricity that shocks you.
Yeah. The best way is just. All right, I'm gonna tell myself, and this is gonna. Some people might not like this, but I'm a real person, so I don't hide anything. But when I was younger, and we would trim out houses and stuff, and once in a while, if the work was slow, we'd actually send like 2 or 3 crews, and there'd just be crawling of guys all over, and we would hot check the house, and I would literally, we all had rubber insulated boots and stuff on, so we weren't grounded. I would grab a hot wire, and I would just stand there with a hot wire in my hand and wait for somebody to be next to me, and as soon as they leaned on the counter or touched the wall, I'd go. Which I look back was pretty stupid considering it's going right across my chest into them. But, when you're in your early 20s and you understand that you can sit there and hold a hot wire and stuff and not get hurt, and then you can send it on to them and stuff, it was good times. I would not do it now at age 44. I would not do that again. But in your early 20s, that's the kind of stuff that you would do at job sites. Made the day go by.
All right. So is there anything that we've left out that we should talk about a little bit? I feel like I've covered most of everything.
I think we covered a lot of things. It's a lot of times people are like, what are you going to office for? Which I do have. I want to work with the homeless population. Some of my campaign funds are actually the events we're having are going to go towards Wear Gloves. Have you ever heard of Wear Gloves? They actually will bring in homeless people or people that normally can't get jobs and actually provide them a job. They have counselors there. I would suggest anyone that has not taken a tour of it, go take a tour of it. It's an amazing group of people. Um, I would like try to find out some halfway houses, instead of just like putting a shelter or something up or a big building and saying, all right, just everyone just camp out and be homeless here. I think we should teach people how to get out of that lifestyle, and if they're self-medicating and drugs, we need counselors for that. There definitely needs to be a different strategy that we're doing right now.
Have Okay, so I have more questions now because you touched on something that piques my interest pretty well. So, the homeless situation, right? You talked about drugs. You're trying to get them back to jobs that are livable and they'll self-sustaining and do right. So, what are your thoughts on? Because I'm pretty sure this is a fairly well-known statistic is that a large percentage of the homeless population choose to be homeless instead of actively, like, you can do whatever you want for them, but they're not going to go get a job and start working the grind, right? They've just kind of given up on that. Do you have like a solution for that, or?
Well, you have a lot of attorneys and stuff that are going to step in and talk about the human rights issue, which of course I believe in human rights. I'm not saying that. But when you have several police cars that are spinning 6, 7 calls a night, going and finding out if someone's dead or if they're OD'd on the road, and they're all sitting there with 6 or 7 12 packs of beer and needles all on the ground, stuff like that, that stuff has got to go. So if you have homeless people and they want to be homeless, we're going to have to figure out an issue for that, how to take care of that, and how to work with it. I don't believe that all of them that are homeless want to be. Some of them might be just hard up on luck, trying to get
Well,
back home.
I'm not saying that they want to be or that all of them want to be, but there are definitely people who don't want to do the daily grind, right?
Right.
And have just decided that it's better to just live that way than, work the job, deal with the stresses of life, when it's more, they can just live fairly modestly in that kind
How
of
are they going to
environment.
do that unless the government's giving handouts?
Well, is that how they're living out there? Is off of the handouts?
Well, they're getting meals, their shelter, etc. So I think that we definitely need to, take care of the homeless. But as far as them just saying, I just don't want to work, I want to sit around and do drugs. Well, I think if someone's ODing on the side of the street or something like that, or shooting up like that, that's a criminal offense. I think they should be arrested for that.
Well, what's your thought on the people who do drugs in order to escape reality because they don't feel like they have a reason to be attached to it?
That's where the counselors are going to come in. So we're definitely going to have to restructure everything, but you're going to have counselors come out there and actually help them. And one of the organizations, I know there's more organizations out there. I'm trying to get around to them, but the most recent one I went to was Wear Gloves. They actually have counselors there to try to help people to get off drugs.
So would you be opposed to legalizing drugs?
Well, that would definitely be at a state level. So that's something I probably won't touch right now. But I know there's been some states that legalized everything. And
Well, because I bring it up because, and I could be totally wrong, because it was at least a year ago that I remember learning about this, but Switzerland and Portugal both legalized drugs to some extent, and even one of them made it like they created like drug houses where you could go and get a daily dose of the drug you're using, and it creates safe environments for druggies to go in, and they get a dose a day or 2 doses a day, one at the beginning and one at the end, that lets them do it with safe clean drugs that aren't like contaminated or potentially bad. So it keeps the illegal drug trade away, the dangerous stuff. While they have to stay in the facility while they're doing the drugs, so they're able to be monitored and have counseling available to them. And if I recall correctly, their drug rate dropped by about 70% doing this. And the people who stayed in and continued to do it led fairly more productive lives than they did before. They actually were able to sustain jobs. Now, this could also be due to the fact that the countries themselves are a very homogenous type of country. so the people are very trusting and are able to do this kind of thing. But I think it's definitely an option where you're getting people off the streets. You're actively helping them deal with their personal reasons why they're doing drugs in the first place.
Right.
And you're giving them a chance to, come back and do it, or come back into society, like a pathway to come back into society proper, and do the drugs in a safe environment where they just won't overdose, and you have a lot of these issues that we have.
I would definitely look into that. That would still be definitely a federal item. I personally have never tried an illegal drug. I guess I was raised that way. And I tell you what, every year that goes in life, it just gets easier and easier to say, you know what, no, thank you. I mean, I know people that do grass and stuff, and that's between them. I mean, I have nothing to do with that. But I believe my job is not to judge people. But as far as meth and stuff like that, I've seen people like on the ride along I did with the police department, guys that are just completely whacked out, walking into the streets and stuff. So I definitely don't think those drugs are safe by any means. I know there's probably going to be a lot of kickback from saying this, but again, I'm a real guy. As far as the marijuana and stuff like that, I don't think you ever hear someone saying that they went home and smoked a joint and beat their wife. I mean, you might hear them coming home and drinking a six-pack and beating their wife, something like that. That's going to be handled federally. Like I said, I've never tried it, so I don't know what the draw is to it. I know people that do it, but as far as legalizing it, that would be a state level.
I'm in that same boat. I don't care to do it if it's there. All right, cool, but it's not something that's like I want to go do this actively, right?
Yeah, that's something like I say would be state level. And let's say it did come down where it was a city choice. The first person I would probably reach out to would be the police chief, and asking what he's seeing on the streets. How's it affecting people? Like I say, never trying it. I don't know how it affects you. I can read up and study on it. But if you go to the police chief and say, look, what drugs are being done on the streets? What is it affecting people? What is the crime rates behind certain titles? The chief that we have right now is very smart. Have you ever sat down with him yet or anything?
I have not met him personally.
You should try to sit down with him. He is by the book, has everything mapped out. He can tell you if a new neighborhood comes in, how many police cars, how many police officers are going to need, like 2.1 police officers and 1.2 cars. I mean, the man is a genius. Ocala is very lucky to have him right now. So that's somebody I would go to and ask, what is your opinion on it? What do you see on the streets? Is this going to cause more crime? Is this not going to cause more crime?
Well, I would assume it would cause less just by, because if I remember correctly, one of the biggest issues we have in Ocala drug related is it's the synthetic marijuana. Is
it K2 or something like that?
I think so. It's some really nasty stuff.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, he ended up getting comatose by someone. Someone gave it to him and he thought it was regular marijuana.
Wow.
And he overdosed on it and went into a coma for 2 weeks. But that's not something you run into as an issue if it's legal and it's selling through a proper dispensary, right?
Right.
So, I mean, in my mind anyways, if you have proper legal channels for these things to be done properly, you negate the death risk. You remove the criminal aspect of it, which, I mean, we saw with, the prohibition of alcohol is doing anything, making it illegal creates a criminal element to it. And if that's one of the biggest issues we have, why aren't we trying to deal with it in a proper way?
I would say, and if it ever did come to being legalized and stuff, I think it should be monitored and treated like a drug. So if you're out doing a drug or something like that, you're not doing it in public, you're not doing operating any vehicles, you're not doing it on a job site, et cetera, so forth.
Safe and in your home,
right,
away from everybody else, so that, because it's something that you should be doing privately, or maybe even you I know it sounds bad when you say it, but like have a drug den. You know what I mean, like a bar basically, where you kind of go out and you do that kind of thing.
But if you have that, how are you getting there and getting back?
Well, you do the same thing that alcoholics do, right? They go to the bar and at the end, they're like, here's a number of someone who can come pick me up, right?
I don't know if I would like to have drug houses.
I know, it sounds really bad when you say it
Yeah,
out
I
loud.
don't think that I'd be voting for that. Yeah, that will not be on my agenda.
That's totally okay. It sounds really bad when I say it,
Yeah.
but I think the concept's pretty much the same. I'm not saying like go out and do meth or anything like that in that context, but I mean like the marijuana or like hallucinogenics, the kind of things that are fairly comparable to alcohol when taken in quantities, right? But no, I think that covers pretty much everything. I don't have anything unless there's something else you want to talk about that I left out.
I'd say the most important thing is to understand that just because it is a political office, I'm not a politician. I'm never going to be a politician. I'm just a businessman that's trying to give back to the community. And I think with the experiences that I have, is definitely going to be beneficial to Ocala. As a contractor, working as an electrician, we're still rubbing elbows with the HVAC guys, the plumbers, the brick masons, the roofers, all the trades. And as you know, Ocala is growing big right now. Whether people like it, if they don't like it, Ocala is growing big. I mean, it's going to be a main distribution hub for the Southeast.
3 new neighborhoods where I used to live. Completely new.
Where I grew up, where I used to drive my bicycles and build forts and stuff like that, is now on top of the world. And there's another subdivision coming in right there. Ocala is going to grow. So I just think that with contractors on board, we're going to be able to see what's going on instead of just looking at the numbers. The numbers are very important. Financials are important. The numbers are important. But understanding the growth and what people are saying, these buildings are going to be built this way. This is how many they're going to house. You just have a little bit more insight from being able to see it for over 20 years. You'll actually be able to know what's going to happen, how that's going to look 10 years from now. It might be a beautiful neighborhood, a year from now, but the way it's designed, you can just tell 10 years from now it's not sustainable.
Well, thank you, Greg, for coming on. I'm glad we finally got the chance to
Yeah,
have this
me too.
conversation. Frankly, it was a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun.
That's good. That's the point of these things. Is they're supposed to be enjoyable for us to have a conversation, for
Right.
others to be able to watch and feel like maybe they're in the room but not necessarily here.
Right.
Because I mean, I'm not trying to run a super serious. All right, we're in the proper chairs, right? We're sitting
Right.
up.
Well, that's not who I am anyways.
Exactly, and who wants to see that kind of stuff? It feels canned and wrong. This was any kind of questioning that happened here was entirely like, ooh, this popped into my head.
Yeah, let's just
let
talk
me
about
ask
it.
about it. I'm curious, and it keeps it real and.
Well, see, I enjoy. At first, I didn't enjoy doing any of this because, like I say, being a contractor, I always went to work, came home, mind my business. Not really a lot of networking. Now I'm doing a lot of networking, getting to meeting people, stuff like that. And I'm trying to get my message out there to people know that I am just a normal guy. I'm nobody special. I don't think that I'm going on this high platform or something like that. I actually believe the exact opposite. You're going in as a public servant. So the most important people to start off with is the citizens.
Yeah,
That's who every decision has to be taken for.
it's the good king narrative where you're not necessarily an all-powerful person who can do whatever they want. You are supremely responsible for the well-being of the people you preside over. And that's the good king aspect of it. That you have to do it like that. Otherwise, you're either a tyrant or
Right.
disconnected, right? So, yeah, I'm glad we got to have this.
Yeah,
this
I had a great time.
conversation.
This was kind of fun.
I hope you do well.
Thank you.
In your race, and if you do win, I look forward to seeing what you manage to do in
Appreciate
that
that.
seat.
I will always have an open door, so reach out to me to any time, or anyone that's watching this or listening to this like that. Reach out to me. I'm a people person.
Yeah.
I love going out and doing this for the last couple of years and networking and stuff like that. I found my inner self. I am very much loving going to all these events and talking to people. As far as getting in front of a microphone and wearing a suit or something like that and saying a speech stuff. As you could probably tell, I don't have the political speeches down where it's word for word and it's the same time every time. I get up there and speak. Maybe not as eloquently and pronunciation of everything, but I'm a normal everyday guy. I'm a blue collar worker. I started digging trenches 25 years ago to owning my own company. So I'm not really one to sit around and talk. I get things done.
All right.
So that's what I think people need to know about me.
All right. Excellent.
All right.
Well, everybody, this was Zeneration Nation. I was your host, Ryan Mace, and my guest for today was Greg Steen, who's running for District 5. I hope you all had a good time and were able to learn a little bit more about one of our candidates for local office. Hope you all have a good night, and see you next